On June 9th, Destiny 2 was supposed to have a funeral. Instead, 160,000 players showed up, crashed the servers, and turned Bungie's legacy plan into corporate embarrassment. Scale is the story, not angry gamers making noise online. Here was the old game, pushed toward the exit, making the shiny future look nervous. Nothing says dead franchise like a funeral that needs extra servers, because too many people still care about the body. Before anyone starts screaming in the comments, let us keep the facts clean, simple, and useful. Is Bungie listening, or is this another corporate write-off with better lighting? Destiny 2 is not fully shutting down on June 9, 2026, and saying otherwise is fake outrage. Bungie confirmed Monument of Triumph is the last big update, so the regular update path stops there. After that update, the game stays playable, and Bungie says Monument content remains available. Basically, the lights stay on, but the factory stops promising new paths, new routes, and regular movement. Companies use fancy words because they fear saying, "This is not making money like before." Players heard the meaning anyway, because communities understand endings wrapped in soft language. Nobody needed lore, charts, or a developer diary to understand what Bungie had just signaled. Over time, Destiny 2 was the game fans returned to after bad seasons, nerfs, delays, and apologies. Then the studio says active development is ending, and everyone is expected to treat that like mild weather. Comedy starts there, because the supposedly fading audience immediately showed it could still move in formation. Community members organized around June 9th to prove they existed, cared, and wanted Bungie and Sony watching. Reddit posts pushed a mass login, and the goal was not nostalgia with space guns and raid memories. Rather, the point was pressure in the language game companies never ignore: numbers, queues, and server strain. People did not show up for goodbye. They showed up to make the old game impossible to dismiss. Suddenly, Destiny looked busy for something being moved into legacy support, and that image is embarrassing. Apparently, the audience understood the assignment better than the transition plan. Comparison makes the whole situation easier for viewers to understand. Sony owns Bungie, Bungie has Marathon, and Marathon is the new bet sitting beside the old money machine. Meanwhile, Destiny 2 looks like the older worker who paid the mortgage and now gets a farewell cupcake. Viewers do not need technical terms here, because the contrast fits on a thumbnail. Both companies are betting everything on Marathon, but the foundation is shaking. One project gets the future pitch, marketing, and studio hope. Another project gets the final update, sunset wording, and fans told to enjoy permanence. Wait, it gets crazier, because the numbers make the whole plan look worse. Marathon, the shiny new future, could not even hit 90,000 players at its peak. The old game nearly doubled that while being put to bed. SteamDB puts Marathon's all-time Steam peak at 88,337 players. During the Monument of Triumph rush, Destiny 2 pushed above 160,000 live Steam players. Result is not a tiny win or bored veterans wandering through the tower for screenshots. Brutal irony lands because Marathon was supposed to prove Bungie had a future, while Destiny delivered cleaner proof of life. Imagine retiring your cash cow to promote the horse that keeps running into walls while investors avoid eye contact. New project gets oxygen, old project gets farewell language. Then the old project pulls the louder crowd. But those 160,000 players were not just there for a reunion. They were there to make a demand Bungie has not answered yet. Guardians want Destiny 3. Because this story is not just about players crashing systems. It is about players turning corporate strategy into evidence. Many fans were demanding Destiny 3, which changes the rally from mourning into a business argument. Games coverage reported Destiny fans flooding Sony's State of Play chat with calls for a real sequel. Petition numbers climbed into the hundreds of thousands, which is not proof of guaranteed sales but is proof of heat. Clearly, the audience is not asking for another seasonal checklist, another recycled grind, or another museum with weekly chores. They want a next chapter with real weight, clean direction, and a reason to come back beyond habit. These players are saying the franchise still has value, still has hunger, and still has people ready to mobilize. Management may see years of old code, maintenance pain, staffing limits, and tired teams. Supporters see a world they kept alive through weak updates, raids, bad decisions, and long waits. However, ending active content while the crowd can gather at this scale makes management look confused. Fine, no developer can feed one aging game forever, and no studio should be trapped by one product forever. Studios cannot describe Destiny as too tired for the future, while the player base moves like a launch event. PlayStation cannot watch those numbers and pretend the brand is just dust sitting on an old shelf. Replacement cannot stand next to that surge and look like the obvious answer on the same day. Today, Marathon looks like the pitch deck, and Destiny looks like the customer base with receipts. Patch notes make the contradiction even stranger. Because Monument of Triumph was not tiny. Reports said the update came with around 71 pages and 17,000 words. Seriously, 17,000 words of patch notes is not a farewell note. It is a novella for a game supposedly going to bed. Veterans looked at that giant cleanup and asked the obvious question: why clean the house after selling it? Developers targeted high-priority fixes before launch, and that part deserves fairness because cleanup work deserves credit. Following years of complaints, the final update shows up with huge notes, restored activities, permanent additions, and return paths. Important detail gets buried under the jokes. The people making Destiny still seem invested in Destiny. Those fixes prove the devs still care, but they expose the disconnect between the people making the game and the people planning its funeral. Worse, the numbers tell a story Bungie specifically did not want investors to see. You do not write a 17,000-word goodbye note unless someone still cares about the house being sold. So the community feels mocked by effort, not because effort is bad, but because the timing is painful. Accuracy matters here, because lazy outrage gives defenders an easy escape route and turns a strong point weak. Do not say the servers are shutting down on June 9th, because that is not what Bungie announced. Avoid claiming the game is deleted, abandoned overnight, or erased from reality like a bad forum rumor. Correct framing is sharper anyway. Planned active content updates end, while Destiny 2 remains playable. A living game is being moved into a smaller box while fans are still outside. It is not dead, it is alive, which is worse because the body can still log in. Gamers were not proving Destiny 2 runs forever on vibes. Serious people know a 9-year game cannot ignore costs, staff limits, and technical problems forever. Ultimately, players proved the franchise still has a pulse strong enough to embarrass the exit plan. Look at the behavior, not the noise, because behavior is where this story stops being just internet yelling. Users organized, logged in, pushed Steam numbers upward, strained servers, signed petitions, flooded chats, and created coverage. Leadership tried to write the ending, and players hit refresh until the ending became evidence. Every live service publisher should study this mess, because loyalty is not owned by server hosts. When people spend years inside a game, they build habits, squads, jokes, rituals, and long grudges. Eventually, one date arrives, the crowd returns, and the chart has a human fist through it. That is why the thumbnail writes itself without 20 arrows. No complicated caption is needed, because the image says the replacement lost to the burial. Executives wanted a quiet transition, but the players gave them an audit with login errors. Owners wanted future bets, while Destiny fans pointed at the franchise already sitting in the vault. I get the studio argument, because no developer can survive by feeding one aging game forever. Fair enough, but if the replacement cannot beat the funeral crowd, maybe the problem is not the audience. Passion did not make Destiny cheap, simple, or easy because players yelled online for a sequel. Commentators should not pretend passion deletes budgets, hiring problems, or engine limits. Publisher passion is the first thing every publisher claims it wants, and here it arrived with receipts. Smartly, Bungie and Sony should treat that pressure as market research, not nuisance behavior. Audience numbers made the business case in corporate language: players, pressure, demand, public proof, and a crowd no spreadsheet can bury. While other outlets are calling this just another angry gamer moment, the numbers tell a more professional story. Evidence belongs here because numbers are why the story matters outside one angry comment section. Precision belongs here because saying Destiny 2 is shutting down turns the whole argument into garbage. Receipts matter because viewers click for facts, claims, and evidence, not smoke machine narration about fallen kingdoms. Bungie ended the planned content road, not the playable game. Simultaneously, fans organized a mass return, created server stress, pushed Steam numbers, and shouted for Destiny 3. Compared with Marathon's smaller peak, Destiny's rush made the new bet look weaker than the old franchise. Combined with huge patch notes, the final update looked less like abandonment and more like late attention. Against that backdrop, Sony and Bungie now face the uncomfortable question they were trying to avoid. Does Destiny need to end because the game is exhausted, or does Destiny need a real sequel because demand still exists? Either answer costs money, staff, planning, and risk, which is why corporate silence feels so convenient. Sensible people cannot pretend this is easy, because easy answers are how live service games become broken casinos with lore tabs. Still, nobody serious should pretend the audience disappeared either, because the audience just came back loudly. Therefore, the final take is simple, ugly, and useful. Franchise health may be reaching the end of active updates, but Destiny just kicked the coffin lid open. Officially, Bungie can call this a new beginning, Sony can call Marathon the future, and fans can keep shouting. Only one thing looked clear after June 9th, possibly Destiny did not die. Actually, Bungie just stopped knowing what to do with it.